talking about what it's like to live alone. I've actually lived alone. I think this will be going into my 3rd year. So this will be my 4th apartment, but I'm going into my 3rd year living alone. While I'm on the topic, I actually did decide to stay here for another year instead of moving. I've been moving pretty much every year since I moved out of my parents' house. It'll be interesting for me to actually stay somewhere for 2 years instead of 1. But yeah, I just want to get into kind of what it's like to live alone and just some tips that I have. So one of the first tips that I have about living alone is I really want to talk about budgeting and all the expenses that you'll have living alone that you may or may not even realize. So for me, when I first moved into my first apartment alone, I was still in college. I was working a job at the time, but it kind of clashed with my school schedule, so I had to quit that job, and I ended up just kind of using the money that they give you for financial aid. So I know a lot of tips that you may read about how to budget living alone and how much your rent should be. I know it's only supposed to be about 1/4 of your check. For me, unfortunately, that's not the way that it is, and I know for most people that's not going to be the case. But if you have the opportunity to save a lot of money before you live on your own, I would definitely recommend it. Just in case something happens in your life, you don't want to be in a situation where you don't know how you're going to pay your bills. When you move into an apartment, they do tell you the base rent, but also kind of what comes along with that is also there's pest control fees and trash fees. You have a pet, there's definitely pet deposits, and there can even be a pet rent. So all of those bills are something you may even pay monthly, along with, of course, you're going to want internet, cable, and the list honestly goes on and on. You have to pay for your own groceries, and of course you have all of your other bills outside of your apartment, such as maybe your car note, gas bill, credit cards, whatever you pay for, all of that on top of paying for your own rent and everything being solely on you. When I lived in my first 2 apartments, I had roommates, so our rent would be a little bit less. I lived in student living at the time, so there was like a set rent that would actually pay for all of your bills. So it's a lot easier to split an electricity bill or to split rent with someone else. That would definitely make it a lot cheaper. But when you're living alone, you have to realize that you're paying all of that and all of those costs on your own. And I will say that sometimes even I overextend myself when it comes to the amount of bills that I pay and things that I have to pay every month. So that's definitely just a tip that I want to give to you guys. If you're considering living alone, just make sure that you can either save beforehand or try to budget the best way that you can while you live alone. Going into my 3rd year of living alone, I think that it definitely can be beneficial for you to live on your own if you ever get the chance. If not, of course, that's definitely fine. But living alone has taught me a lot about myself and just a lot in general. There's a lot of things that I would have never learned if I lived alone and still live with roommates. And being by yourself pretty much all the time is very different, especially if you're coming from living with roommates, or maybe you just live with your parents or a significant other, whatever the case may be. But it definitely can get lonely sometimes as well. Even though I have my friends over pretty often, there's just days at a time where people are going to be busy and you're just going to be by yourself for 2, 3, 4 days, and the only human contact you're going to have is really just going to work or if you go to school. And I think it's very easy, especially if you're an introvert like myself, to kind of just want to stay inside all the time and not go do anything with your friends or not go to an event that you said you would go to because you're at home and you just want to pretty much stay there. I feel like that you need to have ways where you also force yourself to kind of be with other people, as well as, of course, spending that time with yourself. For me, of course, now that I've gotten used to living alone, it's a little bit different. I found a good balance between going out with my friends or having them over and making sure that I still have the time that I need to be in my apartment by myself. And of course, a lot of people love living alone and a lot of people hate it. For me, I love living alone. I think it was one of the best decisions that I ever made. When you live alone, sometimes you'll feel like you don't know what you should be doing or even what to do at all. I think for me, of course, having this YouTube channel has really helped me fill up a lot of my time. I also like to read books, watch a lot of Netflix, basically just find things that you enjoy doing by yourself when you're at home and do those as much as possible. I think if I would have never lived alone, I would have never even started this YouTube channel. Before I lived in my third apartment for about 3 or 4 months, I think that's what kind of drove me to even starting this channel. And I've done so many things that I know I would have never done if I wouldn't have lived alone. So if it's something that you're able to do or are thinking about doing, I would definitely say do it, even if it's for a short period of time. But I think this is something that later in life you'll never regret. You'll always be able to look back on this time that you spent alone and had your own place as a time of happiness. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other tips about living alone or you live alone yourself, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Of course, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to do that down below or at the end of this video. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye guys!
I'm distant now, I'm far away, and it feels like